Wall Street Unplugged looks beyond the regular headlines heard on mainstream financial media to bring you unscripted interviews and breaking commentary direct from Wall Street right to you on Main Street.
This is going on Thursday, November 20th. I'm Frank Curzio, it's the Wall Street Unplugged podcast. So bring the headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. We just finished our capital raise. Very busy over here. So we're growing, getting the foundation rebuilt, signing new contracts for our consulting marketing division. And now that all that's in the past, which is really good news, I want to focus, like I told you, bringing on more and more interviews. Some we used to do a while ago and bring it on every now and then, but now I can really focus on this. A lot of people have reached out to us. A lot of big names have reached out to us. Thanks to you, this platform continues to grow. Again, I joke around. I still don't know how many people and why so many people listen to us, which is awesome and cool. But 15 million downloads, 100 and whatever, 20, 30 countries this goes to. So, when you have those kinds of numbers, there's a lot of people that want to come to this platform. They know our brand. They know it for real. They know we don't bullshit people. Very respectable in the industry. So it leads to a lot of people trying to get in this podcast and tell their story. And my job is to vet a lot of these people before they come on, make sure they're really, really good, but expect lots and lots of interviews starting with right now. So I have a great one with David Goone. If you're not familiar with David Goone, he's CEO of tZERO. That's the security trading platform Curzio Research trades on. Yes, if you're new to this podcast, we tokenized our company 4 years ago. I thought that trend would be much bigger by now. But as you could see, crypto is on fire, especially with Trump coming in. And very, very exciting times, especially for tZERO, who recently got their special purpose broker-deal license. One of the only companies in America to do that, which means they could trade just like a Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, except within crypto, taking custody, electronic trading. It's a very, very big deal, and this company's ready to take off. So you could own our company, trade just like a stock on this platform. There hasn't been a lot of liquidity. Now liquidity is going to come finally. I thought that would come a lot sooner, but really exciting times, especially at a time when we're growing. Now, David, if you're not familiar, he's a pioneer, 20 years of experience. You're going to hear all about it in a second. But David, man, he's been on the road like crazy ever since this news. And this news just happened about a month and a half ago. So doing lots of interviews, going all over the place, lots of big interviews, just with speaking to a lot of investment firms and things like that. And we were able to get him on a day that he was extremely busy. Told him, hey, if you're too busy, don't worry about it. We know him. I know him. I trade on his platform. And he's like, no, I want to do this for you. It's great. And, so at the beginning, a little tired. I think he did a couple of interviews before. But, man, once we get going, it's really amazing when you see how innovative he is. I mean, coming from ICE, Chief Strategy Officer. Again, I'm going to go all over this stuff. And once this thing gets going and picks up, he's going to talk about this industry, including tokenization, which he believes is going to be a $1 trillion opportunity. Again, tokenization is fractional ownership. Going to talk about more about the special purpose broker deal license, what it means for his company and the entire industry. Should we welcome more competition? It's going to be even better, probably. Let's see what he has to say. He's also going to talk about, because he's very in technology for 20, 30 years, what the next biggest trend he sees. So again, starts out a little slow because we got him just off of other interviews, but then it gets going. It's really, really exciting. And here's that interview with David Goone right now. David Goone, thank you so much for joining us on Wall Street Unplugged.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so take me through this scenario, because I believe, if I get this right, in 2000, you go to this new company, ICE, and you have maybe a dozen employees, and then all of a sudden you create these new products. I mean, electronic trading, you're doing data analytics, you're building up this traffic, and then you do this amazing job and turn this into this 15,000 employee plus place, whatever, 70 billion plus market cap or whatever you guys are with ICE now. And then now it's 2022 and you're probably thinking, okay, wine, golf, ready to retire. And then was it a tap on the shoulder or something? Take a look at this company. Take me through that process and I know it probably happened before 2022 before getting tZERO, but how did that process start?
So we had I had a really good run at ICE, and I believe of kind of the core group of original guys, it was just me and the CEO, Jeff Sprecher, left with the company. I think everyone else had pretty much retired, and many of the people who worked for me had retired. And I was ready to retire. So I was planning on that, and a couple things happened in my personal life was going on where I was dealing with some elderly parents, and was going to kind of be stuck in, in the Chicago area, where I'm from. And so it wasn't like I was going to be able to retire and just go travel and do all the fun things. I have an inquisitive mind, and then I got contacted by some people about would you be interested in being the CEO of this company? They had some interesting things to talk about. By the way, this was no different than how I got to ICE. At first I said, I'm not really that interested. I started thinking about it, mulling on it, and then I had a couple ideas, and I had a couple conversations, and I thought they had enough of the regulatory structure that I might be able to try some fun things and keep my mind active. And I still had, maybe it would be fun to do that and see if we can move forward with that. So at that point in time, I talked to Jeff Sprecher, who was the CEO of ICE, and I said, hey, kind of knew I was thinking of retiring, or was going to retire around the spring. I think it was 22. And we talked about, I told them what I was thinking of here, and they need some capital, and they could be an investor. And so Jeff thought, yeah, that's an interesting idea. If that's what you want to do, I'll certainly back you with some capital and see what you want to do. So that's kind of what happened. That's how I got here. I had some interesting ideas. They needed some capital. ICE was gracious enough to become a significant minority owner, and off to the races I went.
So off to the races, and then it's February 2022, and then all of a sudden, I mean, maybe if you could do it all over again, maybe the timing, right? The market crashes, the market falls, and then starts rebounding, I guess, towards the end of the year in 2022, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, what was it, January, I think, 23, we see this attack on crypto. Right. Where they really went after these companies. And, I've been in this industry for a while, as you know, we trade on your platform. And, they closed the two major banks, right? And for me, my words, illegally, they didn't do anything fraudulent, but I saw the letters and everything, to all the banks saying, okay, don't do anything, or, we're going to make sure you don't do anything with crypto anymore. They even went after Coinbase, which went through the whole SEC process. And it made it really difficult for this industry. And this, as well as I do, that there's names that definitely need to be policed. But it was a pretty big surprise, a little bit of setback. And were you surprised, I guess, let's start there. Were you surprised to see that? It caught me by surprise, caught a lot of people by surprise. But were you surprised when that happened? It felt like it was a little bit of a setback for the industry, and I thought this would take off a little bit sooner.
I wasn't. I was a little surprised. I certainly wasn't shocked, and I wasn't that surprised. I think, look, the SEC up until now has really been dealing, as I think everyone would agree with, not necessarily crystal clear rules on things in terms of particularly the crypto/digital area, but they have been more aggressive in terms of enforcements of what their of actions of what they feel is clearly in their view, securities or not, and that's how they've been doing it, more by enforcement than, really crystal clear, this is exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. What they're saying is that it at least seems to me, this is blatant, or this is you're outside of the bounds of what we think is securities law, and we're going to come find you or, put you in the penalty box. That seemed to be their structure, and that's what they were doing. So, the issue is some of this is the cat's already out of the bag, and I think they don't know. I'm not saying they don't know, but it's difficult to figure out. We're not starting from scratch. This crypto industry's The cat is out of the bag a little bit. These things are trading pretty actively, and you can't put, Pandora's box has been opened, and how do you put it back? And I think that seems to have been the struggle. So they take this enforcement path, which seems to be what they've done. So what you're probably missing is, on top of that, we had the FTX issue, which was more not necessarily a crypto issue. It was just more of a difficult issue. You didn't have to call it crypto. What he was found guilty of was not really anything necessarily crypto related. That just happened to be the game board he was on. It was the fact that he was absconding he was using segregated money for other purposes. It didn't have to be crypto, but it certainly at first and later on tarnished, I think, the industry. I think that was probably the bigger tarnish to the industry that happened. He basically wasn't telling the truth as far as I could tell. He said he wasn't using customer funds to, he was commingling funds, right, at the very highest level and not necessarily being honest about it. So that's been going on for probably thousands of years. It just happened to be the crypto arena he was playing in. But I think it had a chilling effect on the industry, certainly at first, because when something like that happens, people look at the arena, not just the players, right? And I think that's kind of what happened. So, that's just my view of it. So I wasn't necessarily surprised. I think there were certain things that needed to be cleaned up, and certain people, push the envelope. And sure, there's bad actors in every area, and maybe, as any industry grows up, the bad actors will kind of hopefully disappear, and things become more and more legitimate with, institutional, like, high quality participants as time goes on. So, which I think's happened.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. So, all right, we got the negativity out of the way. Let's talk about the positive stuff. So, in the past 2 months, really good news. Politics aside, you have an administration that won that's very pro crypto. I think I want to say, don't quote me on this number, I think it's 46 senators, House representatives who are pro crypto ran. I think they won at like 100% rate as of now. And then you get this out of nowhere, which I thought was very, very cool. The special purpose broker-dealer license. And explain what that is. I mean, obviously we know what it is, but explain it as, in terms and why it's such a difference maker for your platform.
So special purpose broker-dealer license, which was, I think, tZERO, I don't think I know, had applied for prior to me even coming here. So the SEC was not, in FINRA, were not necessarily quickly approving what was supposed to be a pilot program starting 3 years ago, a 5-year pilot. tZERO had applied right away, and the process just was probably unduly long. They kept asking us questions, and it was perseverance. I think, and kudos to our General Counsel Alan Konevsky for constantly pushing, but we finally got it. So the issue was, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of 3 years of lots and lots of work and lots of effort, not only from our general counsel, our technology people. What it allows us to do at the simplest level is to be a special purpose broker-dealer. Allows us to custody digital assets that are securities. We can be the custodian, as opposed to going to a 3 or 4 party model, where you have to go to someone like an Anchorage or something to house your digital asset. So it allows us to be more one-stop shopping. You can do your primary, your secondary, and your and custody your digital assets all with us. And that's probably the biggest benefit of the special purpose broker dealer. We're only one of two. The other one was Prometheum, and I think that was a different decision for a different reason is my guess. So we'll talk about them. But that's really kind of where we're at. And it was nice that we finally got it. I mean, it was a lot of hard work and time just of constant meetings and making sure they were comfortable with us having the infrastructure and the ability to.
No, it was incredible. It really was. I mean, I've been with you guys for a very long time, and I knew that process was in there. And the surprise was like, wow, I can't believe they just approved it, right? So, which was awesome. Yeah.
So hopefully, it'll prove. We're hoping it approves advantageous, and we're talking to a lot of other people because, think about the crypto ecosystem.
Mhm.
There are certain assets in crypto and in digital assets where, at least, under the law as it is today, one wouldn't argue that a strong argument, one would say that there are aspects that are definitely a security and not just a digital coin by itself. And interest earning security, things like that are probably, those are securities.
Mhm.
So an interest earning instrument that, is, basically security. So it allows creation of other instruments that can help the ecosystem in the crypto world, the crypto ecosystem that now, those aspects can be traded as a security, but housed in a custodian basis in a way that is more economically viable, I think, for people.
So now you have this license, and maybe say about a month or two ago that you received their approval. Have you seen more people calling you about this? Or have you seen more people looking to tokenize? Because I know that we've been on the platform for a while, and it's been kind of like the same issuers that were there. And
we're starting to we're having a lot of interesting conversations with many parties about this now.
Mhm.
So let's just kind of level set. So we need to, we get the permission. Now we have to launch the special purpose broker dealer. There's some work involved in that, and that'll get launched before year end. And then, just like anyone else, we got to be our own guinea pig. So the first asset you'll probably see us do is our own tZERO ROP, completely digitized and, us custodying it. We already have a second one, which I won't mention, ready to go, a second asset. But I haven't talked to that party though, so I don't want to bring it. I mean, in terms of letting it out publicly, but we have a second asset ready to go, and then we're looking at some more interesting assets and lots of conversations, particularly some bigger players that are looking at things I talked about. That there are parts of the crypto ecosystem that could benefit by some security type token digital asset that can we can be the custodian of in a much easier way.
So tokenization, right? Because we say security tokens, tokenization, fractional ownership of an asset. There's a lot of liquid assets out there, right? When we look at the bond market, we look at real estate, we're seeing, a company like Masterworks do this very well. Aspen Token do this very well, right? With rooms and stuff like that through their token. I guess my question is, where do you see this industry headed? When I first did this, I looked at it, and I've covered trends all my life. I've been doing this for 30 years. I looked at it and I was so excited because I feel like it's a way for retail investors to really get into some of these things very early, which you don't see anymore because companies IPO at insane valuations, right? And a lot of that growth is taking place. It's area you get in the ground floor. You could do it with smaller businesses if they're able to raise money, if it's a restaurant, any asset, right? But then I see, another platform make this more institutionalized. And I feel like, and I'm hoping it doesn't do this, and maybe it'll do it right away because I understand it's much bigger issuers, but I feel like Wall Street's pushing this and finding another way, just like they kind of did with SPACs and dumped this on retail investors and made a fortune off of it while everybody else got killed. I feel like they're like, okay, we have all these people in this liquid assets. A lot of these are credit investors. How do we get them out somehow in an easier way where it's in between, where you don't have to, not IPOing yet? Maybe we could tokenize these assets. And I just feel like, you see Morgan Stanley invested in it, you see JP Morgan invested in it. I feel like, is it that way, or am I too naive to think that this could really be for the retail investor and a really great outlet?
Well, that's a good question. So let me think about the answer. So I think a good way to think about it, Frank, is I think it's a little bit of both. I think the house is big enough. It's a meal where everyone can eat. Yeah, right. There's going to be enough food for all. I think there's a credibility. The good news about the big institutions is it gives a lot more comfort or credibility, even for the retail, right? It's the rising tide will raise all boats. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And I think, you got to define what's retail. So what you're seeing, particularly outside of the US, where you don't have this strict regulatory environment, and look, crypto's now, I don't know where, I don't have it in front of me now, but it's top 90,000 yesterday. I think we're having this conversation on the 14th of November. I think yesterday at top 90,000. I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot of capital in the crypto world that I think are looking for outlets to further invest, right? Not just in the crypto. And I think that's kind of what I'll call there's a retail opportunity for that, and others participate in, let's call it non-traditional assets. Everyone can buy stock, but can I take in my crypto and invest it in whatever, a sports team? Can I invest in a piece of art? Can I invest it in, all these other things that people have access to? Private equity isn't open. There's lots of, issues that I think can help both institutional and more retail people in private equity. Can you, think about fractionalizing that? Those are illiquid, but, really why? Can they, potentially that could free up and actually probably better for institutional and retail. So I think you're going to see both. I think there's going to be definitely, there's too much money going onto the institutional side and the digital asset. That's going to happen, and it could take some time, but it will happen. And then on the retail side, I think you're starting to see it, and I think people will get more and more comfortable. And probably with the regime change, and let's see what happens with the SEC, I think things will loosen up a little more, and I think it'll become a little more accepted. But people want to, it's where people want to invest. If you look at younger people, they want to invest in what they know, and stocks look great, and I think the stock market will always be there. But as I've said, I think someone was interviewing on another podcast. If you would have told me 20 years ago that people would be investing in gym shoes or sneakers and collecting them and not wearing them and putting them in boxes and storing them in their closets and buying and selling them, I think that might have been, a bridge too far for me to get to. And I like to think of myself as a bit of a futurist. I mean, I was, prior to ICE, I was developing products for the CME, and we used to have people coming in on probably more than a weekly basis with, some of the crazier ideas and some really good ideas, but mostly ideas were out there. Sneakers wouldn't have been one we would have probably, brought a team in to have a meeting about. But there it is, right? People invest in those things, and they are, it's been a good investment for some people. There's companies that are doing quite well by buying and selling sneakers. So I think the retail people will still be out there, but there will be some institutional stuff. Can we have, and you're starting to see it, a tokenized, interest earning, money market account. I don't know that I'd want to go with, John Doe company. I think I'd be more, comfortable with a blue blood type Wall Street name than I would, with some small company out of, an island somewhere in the Caribbean. So, or maybe don't even know where they're at, right? Yeah, so I think there's that. So I hope I answered your question. I think there's a lot of interesting thing, and I think there's a lot of room for innovation, and there'll probably be, like anything, there'll be innovation, there'll be people who succeed, there'll be roll-ups, people will acquire them. And, 20 years from now, it'll probably be a much more institutionalized like market. But listen, people trade. Morgan Stanley owns E-Trade, right? I mean, people trade retail, and they also have a huge, I'm sure, book of institutional clients. So.
Yes, and I think you sold yourself short. I mean, I know your history. I'm a big fan of yours, and if you look up your name, you're gonna see, ICE and how you turn, what you did for that company. But I think what I've read and studied about you is the innovation part and how that excites you. And let's talk about that level because the innovation that you're seeing, this is something totally different, right, from what we're used to. And I think it's most people still don't know about it. When you see it even in horse racing, collectibles, and a lot of things. And again, some companies are doing this, which is incredible. Where do you see us in the stage of say when you were at ICE? And I think it may have been you started 2000 and small, and probably if I would imagine 2005, 6, 7, you starting rock and roll and markets coming back then. I mean, and where are you at this stage in terms of excitement, in terms of innovation? I mean, because especially with everything happening in the past.
Yeah, I think we're right at the beginning. I mean, let me give you some analogies. Out at the CME, and I developed a lot of product there too. So, we're at the beginning. I would say if it's a baseball game, we're just, we're still in the warm-ups. I don't think we're in the first inning yet of where we're at. We're just about to start the first inning. That's kind of where we're at. But, it's an interesting thing. Things do and can move logarithmically. So you look at, back when I was at the CME, I think before I worked for the exchange, I was, on the trading floor back in, let's say, 1987, 88, and everyone thought electronic trading and everyone was going to get put out of business. And the floors are going to close. And by and large, that's happened in the derivatives world. It probably didn't happen it started happening much later than 1987. It probably started really happening, between 2000, 2010 is probably when you started to see a major shift. And then the next decade, 2010 to 2020, it really moves. So it takes longer, but when it happens, it moves quick, right? Once it kicks in, it moves quick. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here is you're going to have some early things going on. You'll start to see some successes, and then all of a sudden it'll hockey stick, as they say on the chart, and you're going to see a lot of things go. I think what you need to get is more critical mass and distribute, working on your distribution and getting it going. So I don't know what'll cause it. I've had a lot of successful products, and sometimes you're surprised. But when there's going to be, and there will be, one or two successful products in this arena, then all of a sudden you're going to get critical mass for everything else. Because it's not that the ideas are bad, it's just getting the critical mass for adoption. It's like, I think that's where we're at. So to answer the question, I think we're probably in the beginning of the first inning and a long way to go. And I think it's going to evolve. Probably in some ways we don't know, but in some ways, I think it will. I mean, let's just say I know I'm heading north. I don't know the path of how I'll get there exactly, and there's probably 30 or 40 paths to get there.
Is there a formula that you look at? And I've covered trends all my life. I've been doing this for a long time. And one thing that was always a certainty when you see disruption is, for three things, it made things easier, right? It was good for both parties. And it made things cheaper, right? And a lot of times faster. And that's when I give, Uber a great example. Like, why would you take a taxi? It's cheaper, it's safer, it's better. You got drivers, good for the company, it's good for you. It just benefits everyone where it's just why take a taxi.
I agree with you.
So when I look at tokenization, I see the same thing. I mean, this is something where if you have commercial real estate, you could sell off a piece, the owner gets a check, right? Which is great. The value of this asset's probably going to no longer trade as a private asset, maybe 3 times earnings. It's not going to trade probably, I don't think, for a while until we get a lot more liquidity at an S&P multiple. But the value of that asset's probably going to move up since it's, I would call it semi-publicly traded. So it's really good it's good for individual investors because they're able to maybe buy a piece of real estate, a piece of a great, painting, a rare art and stuff like that. I just see, and not only that, just the method of doing this where the IPO market and how you go public on these exchanges now, where you need all these qualifications, you need the lawyers, the quarterly reports. it seems like it checks off all the boxes. I mean, is that how you see that in terms of innovation with some of the things you look at, or you again?
100%. I'm looking at all those things. I think it has to be a win-win, right? I think, just like any, I always used to say this with people, and this was very common both at ICE and I still see it now even at tZERO, but I see it certainly at ICE and at the CME before that. People would come in and they would have a great idea, but the great idea was usually that it was really good for either a buyer or seller. And they used to have a guy who worked for me who was a really clever guy and used to always say, you need both. Like, yeah, I can understand why everyone wants to sell, but who's going to be on the other side? Why would someone want to buy it? Or vice versa. I can understand why everyone wants to buy it, but who would ever sell that, right? Hey, I have this, great asset I'm earning 50% on. I should monetize it. I should sell it. It's like, well, you're earning that much. Why would you ever sell it, right?
Yeah.
So of course, if I think the line out the door to buy something like that would be, around the block, but or hundreds of miles long. But so I do look at that. I try to look at where's the buyer and seller, which basically is saying that it's a win-win in some regards for both parties. There's opportunity for both parties. And then, is it solving some problems or opening some opportunities that weren't previously available and solving a problem? So I can, you can think of, let's just take sports teams, right? I mean, there's, that's the hot, you read, it's been a great investment. You can talk about, I don't know where over time it's been a great investment, but, unless you're a very wealthy person, you don't have access to that. So can we democratize that? Can you fractionalize that in such a way that it's a win-win for everybody? And I can come up with lots of reasons why that would be. It could be like that in private capital markets. I've been fortunate enough to have access to a lot of private equity, private capital deals, which have been really great returns. Certainly, should that, can that be made available to the average person? I think absolutely. There's no reason, and it could be a big benefit to the people who are holding it, because those are illiquid. The downside is those, they're, once you get in, you got to wait to get out, and those can take a lot longer. I've had private equity investments I thought were 3 to 5 years, and I'm, year 15 and still holding. So, is it a good investment? Yeah, most of them are great, but it doesn't mean I'm out. So there are interesting things, I think, in those arenas. Certainly, sports, arts, entertainment, private capital, all those things are probably, real estate, all those things are interesting and should, once people get used to them and there's some good wins, I think people will continue to pour money. But it's an acceptance issue. It takes a little time. But you look at the crypto world, that took off, right? Bitcoin took off. Were it not for Bitcoin taking off, I don't know if all the other cryptos, if you would have had a lot of others, but for one reason or another, all of a sudden you started having it beyond what it was envisioned for. It wasn't envisioned for.
Yes, that's usually the way it works, right?
Right. It wasn't envisioned. It was envisioned to be a currency replacement, not a currency quote, something that was a tradable instrument on a regular, second to second basis. It was just going to be an alternative to currency. So it's just the way it works, right? It's Netflix sending DVDs in the mail, right? So. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I don't think the iPhone, they ever anticipated social media would be the driver of social media throughout the world, right? At least the catalyst.
No, absolutely. So I want to. Almost going to be the last question, because I think this might be a little bit long, because this is very easy. This is going to be the easiest question for you.
Okay.
I'm being sarcastic. How at this position, basically one of the only companies to get your special purpose broker deal license. Another company has it, but they're also trading like different cryptos. And I understand if they want to generate revenue. So getting rid of, I feel like you're on an island by yourself. Now for the fun part, what are you doing to build the moat? Is it better for competition to get into the space because that's going to be more people and it's the industry so small that that's what you want? It's probably, just more people, more traffic. Or what are you doing right now to really position yourself where, hey, we are the premier and like, in the short term, maybe the first year, especially since you have this license?
Well, I guess you can't be afraid of competition, right? I mean, that's going to happen in everything, right? Not monopolies. And, there's some problems with monopolies in and of themselves. You can get fat and lazy. So you want to always be worried about somebody catching up. But I think, rising tide raises all boats right now. I think I think we can stay ahead by, having a best in breed program, look, good systems, obviously good people working on it, and having, high ethical standards within the industry, makes sure you're doing everything right. I think that's how you do it, and you got to build trust with people because let's face it, this industry, the digital assets / crypto industry has some, not everyone's playing. It's not as blue blood, for lack of a better word, as it should be. So I think if you're holding yourself to the highest ethical standards, you have good technology, that's what'll set you apart. And you're innovative enough in partnering with good partners on the deals you do. I think what would be, you also, when we talked about it before, you want to do assets that are you want to do things that are good for the investor. I don't want to list an asset that people are going to lose money on. If I thought an asset came to us and someone say, hey, can you do this? And I know that it's, we talked about SPACs. Not all SPACs are bad, but a lot were because there wasn't good alignment with the investor and the issuer. So you want to make sure that, the investor has a chance for a good return and that it's not, something that they're just going to lose their money on and throw it away. So I think if you do a good job and have good assets, I think that'll be the differentiator. Will someone come along? I can't say. And look, let's see what happens. You got a new change in government. I'm sure there's going to be a probably substantive change in how the SEC approaches these things. What I will be surprised on if it's status quo in terms of this SEC, 3 to 6 months from now in regards to digital assets, crypto, and everything. I think it'll be a different environment. Let's see how that goes. And then we're going to have to adapt to that as well. But I think we're positioned well, and we try to do everything ethically and above board and, follow the rules. And that's how we'll differentiate ourselves.
No, it's great stuff. And I guess the last question, which is a little bit of a side question and not related so much, because I'm not going to let you use tokenization, is someone that's been around innovation and loves it, right? And just studies it and is fascinated by it and loves even like the startup version of it. Is there a technology out there? And again, AI, I guess, would be the easiest example because, big data, Internet of Things, everything. But is there like a technology out there that has you really excited that nobody's looking at that you're like, wow, this is actually.
Well, that's an interesting one. Well, look. So, it's hard not, we're talking probably, really also I don't even know if we're in the first inning or warm-ups. AI is clearly going to have a huge impact. And I don't think we've even, if we have this discussion in 10 years, which I still think will be early in the AI revolution, I don't know that we'll be able to predict which way it goes, just like I was talking a little bit with the iPhone. I don't think anyone really realized how much that changed the world. I mean, when my kids were little, I had cameras and video cameras and, a telephone. And we didn't even have, we had portable phones or looked like dinosaur bones. You couldn't even carry it with you. You had, everything's in one thing. I have my schedule, my work, my email, which no one was using then. You're available 24/7. You can do video calls. I mean, no one envisioned that when these things first came out. I think AI is going to be like that. But I do think there are interesting areas within the AI arena that I think everyone's looking at. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. Interesting areas that I think are going to really substantively change both the world and the workforce in a way we're not quite prepared for. So, and I think in most cases that will be for the better. There may be some areas where it's going to be for the worse. Outside of that technology, I'm trying to see if there's anything else I've seen recently. I think everyone's going to become much more productive. Hopefully that means we're going to start going in some new arenas and new technologies we haven't thought of before. I think AI will allow that. But have I seen anything that's blowing me away outside of AI? It's pretty hard to say that. I mean, that's such a mind-boggling change in so many ways, you know. I was talking to people, I mean, how does a student in college, you know, like how does a professor in college deal with that, or in high school, grammar school? I mean, it writes papers, it can do your math homework, it can, you know, and we're just starting it, you know, artistic endeavors. And it's just, like I said, just starting. But I think we'll start being able to do huge calculations and do some really interesting things out there from a technology base that will change the world. So, but we're still going to have capital. We're going to have to invest, which is kind of the world I live in. And it's going to have to be fun and interesting. And I think it'll become more and more frictionless. So what I think will be interesting is you're going to see lots of people being able to do things huge companies did, you know, in their basement, you know, not on the dissimilar to the music industry. Remember, people used to have these huge studios and, you know, do recording. Now you can do it on your, you know, your iPad.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
You know, people can do stuff there. So I think that's going to happen with a lot of things.
And I can tell how excited you get. You just, because you just close your eyes. You're like, well, I have no idea. Just on a medical front, on like you say, you just talk about the labor front. You're talking about, you know, calculations of things and math and space. And it is unbelievable when you just think about it a little while. It's pretty cool. You just go down a couple of rabbit holes.
I mean, just look what happened in the medical, I think is going to be radically changed. I mean, I'm not in that field, obviously, but I mean, just the ability to come up with and customize treatments and calculations that they're going to be able to do to test of so many variety of, you know, whether it's, you know, vaccines or treatments or drugs. I mean, all that is just going to constantly accelerate to levels we probably can't even imagine. So,
it is. Definitely incredible. Well,
and a lot of fun. I mean, I love it, right? I mean,
definitely.
You can't be afraid of it. You got to embrace it. I think people, you know, it's going to happen. So you got to embrace it. I don't want to be that old person who doesn't know how to use the ATM, which doesn't even, you know, people don't even use anymore, or
the pay telephone, right? It's funny when my kids see that. What is that thing?
Rotary phone.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Jeff Sprecher from the CLI sent me a funny video years ago. They gave kids in college, just like 4 or 5 years ago, a rotary phone.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with it. Like, how would you call a number? You know, it's not intuitive. Like, how do you call a number on it?
That's so great. So great. Well, listen, David, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know how busy you are.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the discussion. Always like to talk about fun stuff. So.
That's great. I want to also end with this and saying, listen, you know, we're very, very glad we chose your platform. You know, there's a couple of different places out there we're very happy with, and very happy that you received a license and everything. And it's really cool being on your platform. I know my subscribers and my investors really love it. So I look forward to the future with you, and really excited with you.
Better. Thanks for all the support.
Thank you as well. And hopefully you come back on soon.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks.
All right. Take care, buddy. Thanks. Hey guys, today's podcast is being sponsored by Bridge Tower. It's a real estate investment company, an incredible track record and model of building, developing, acquiring single family for rent and build to rent homes. It's a market within the housing industry. It's seeing incredible demand as home affordability is out of reach for most American families. So what do they have to do? They have to rent. So now Bridge Tower, and this is the very first time they're doing this, guys. They're opening up a new fund for retail investors that are accredited. So you don't have to have $5 million in a BlackRock account or Goldman Sachs to get into this fund. These guys are very credible. I know them personally. Very strong returns. Know this market inside and out. And companies like KKR, Walton Street Capital, they're not going to partner with everybody. They did partner with these guys. So this new fund comes with really good terms for those seeking growth and income. And yes, I vetted it. And yes, I'm investing in it. So you're going to get incredible yield with the opportunity for capital appreciation. So this is a great name. It's run by my friend George Wang, who's a co-founder of this fund. Incredibly brilliant guy, senior analyst at Sabretooth Capital and billion-dollar Tiger Hedge Fund. I mean, this guy's been everywhere. He'll hop on a call with you to answer any questions you have. So here's the website. You see who's scrolling through it. Or you can call him direct at 469-963-2550. And my friend George will get on the phone with you personally. And for more information, go to www.bridgetowerinvest.com. That's www.bridgetowerinvest.com. Okay, guys, great stuff from David. And I really appreciate him coming on. It's a long day for him, long month and a half for him. Got to get the word out. Lots of questions. What's going on with this platform? You guys have been sitting there. Security tokens, supposed to be huge. Now you get your special purpose broker-dealer license. And now you see the new administration focusing 100% on crypto. Holy cow, there's a reason why Bitcoin's taking off, reason why a lot of these stocks are taking off. There's crypto is an industry. It's not like the stock market where you just got the Trump bump. I get it. But stocks are already high, almost across the board, outside of small caps, you can argue with. But most stocks are trading near their all-time highs, most of the indices. And then we saw this bump up. With crypto, take out Bitcoin, take out Ethereum. This is a market that has been annihilated outside of that. I mean, you're talking good technologies the next 100. I'm not talking about meme shit and all that. You want to play that? Good for you. I'm not going to get mad at you and say you're an idiot, because sometimes I'm the idiot because I see people make 10,000 to 100,000% on some of those things. That's okay. But the top 100 technologies, top 200 even, these are really good companies. You're going to see new names come to the market. Also, security token market really take off. I mean, exciting times where, yes, this has gone higher, but this has gone higher with so many of these names outside of the top 3 or 4, again, including Bitcoin and Ethereum in there, and Binance, they're still off 60-70% from their highs. And this is where the opportunity is here. So hopefully you enjoyed that interview. Really like David, and you're going to see us work hand in hand. I'm going to help them build that platform. Again, it's in our best interest as well. And these guys are doing a fantastic job. We're getting calls in. We're getting calls even from gold companies looking to tokenize assets now because they see the liquidity coming. Now it's here. Now this is something I think is really going to be really huge, I'm hoping. And we're right in the middle of it. We're right in the middle of that. With our business, with our consulting business, with our publishing business, traffic increasing on all social media platforms. Yeah. We launched an offering to raise money, which we just closed, and we raised a lot of money in a short amount of period. Because everybody that we spoke to, I told them our story and where we're going. And, listen, it wasn't always good. You get the bumps and bruises you get from starting a company to managing a company. But where we are right now, things are really cool. And then, tZERO getting this broker-dealer license right when we're doing this is fantastic. And then Trump winning. Everything's really lining up, and it's really exciting times here. Got a great team. Everything's awesome and really cool. So again, more interviews coming, even in the crypto space, across all spaces. We're going to have a lot of fun. If you guys think there's any great guests out there, let me know. We're going to start doing lots and lots of interviews, at least 2 or 3 a month, and we'll have a lot of fun with that because a lot of people are asking to come on a platform, and now have a lot of time to do it. So last thing here, guys, we just opened up Curzio 1 to new members. Curzio 1 is our elite membership, right? You can only get invited to a special invitation through me. And I pretty much talk to everyone before they come into this membership. And there's about 100 people that say, hey, I'm interested, and we put them on a list. So when we open up, we email them. If you want to be on that list, email me at frankcurzioresearch.com. But we just opened it up. Why? Because I like to open up when we have a really good opportunity. And this opportunity, which is part of this service, and you get all of our membership services for free now, and everyone who's coming forever. I'll talk about that in a minute, but you get all of our services, and usually the people on this list and how they get in this list is because they have a lot of our products already. So we allow them to deduct that amount from the large membership fee because this is an elite membership. And you also get access to private placement deals. So I like opening this up. We don't open up often, but we have a great private placement deal. It comes from an awesome source, someone who has done very, very well for us. He started a biotech fund, it's a very early stage seed biotech fund in 2021, and it's now ranked in the top 5% globally for IRR. And he also came out with another offering that we just got data from that I showed my one members where it's phase 1B data, and they just released it and showing that not only it's a psoriasis drug, but not only has it treated it, and they show pictures of this, it's curing it. And the results couldn't have been any better than any stock on the market. And there's one comparison that saw results that had half the efficacy. I'm not even kidding you. And made it to phase 2 and got bought out for $4 billion plus $2 billion in royalties. And we're in this thing at $50 million valuation. So these results could be published everywhere pretty soon. If you're a Curzio One member, you got the chance to invest in that name. This is where this new company comes from. It's another biotech company that's disrupting a $420 billion segment within healthcare. And healthcare is a shit show. And when you see this and what they're doing, it's amazing. This isn't like this early startup that we're going to just, this is a second round of funding. I think they're up to $45 million in funding, and they gave us a small allocation. Okay, the only way you can get it is through Curzio One, basically, or if you know the lead investor on this, which is, I think that they're done, right? So they're waiting for our allocation. So I have a small allocation if you're a one member. If you're looking to come in, I should be able to get you into this deal as long as we don't see a ton of people, but it's a high price tag. We usually don't get a ton of people to come into this membership. If you're interested, let me know, because this is where I invest my money. This is where I made my wealth, most of it in my lifetime, is investing in these deals. And I've gotten my ass kicked for 20 years, long time ago, and it takes you a while to understand how these deals work, who's full of shit, and build a list of contacts that you could trust that consistently make you money in these deals, because you only need one. You only need one. And if you get that one, it could be life-changing. And you want to be really smart about this. And now the contacts that we have across every single industry, especially crypto, is going to get hot. Biotech is getting funded tremendously. That's where this one comes from. This name comes from. Again, this is a name that's generating over $25 million in sales right now. They did a capital raise a year ago for a Series A raise. And they said, this is what we're going to do. And you hear that shit all the time in the early capital raises. They exceeded it like by miles. So now they're taking this model, which is just in one major city in America, and going to scale it to every major city. And really exciting stuff. The model works. It provides a cheaper alternative compared to hospitals. It's cheaper, easy, better for patients, so it checks all three. This is something that's going to disrupt the entire industry, and the industry is $420 billion market, and it comes from a really good source. So if you come into Curzio One, this is something that you get. This is just one of many names. I'm at the New Orleans conference right now. I'm going to be talking to a lot of different companies, and they need money as well. And I love gold. I really do love gold right now. People are like, well, we'll pull back and try. I love gold right now. I think gold's going to go a lot higher. I think Bitcoin's going to go a lot higher. And I think a lot of these junior miners are finally going to take off. As you see, Goldman Sachs just put a price target on gold of $3,000 2025. I think it's going to happen very early in 2025. I think that happens in the first 3-4 months of the year. Central banks are going to continue to buy. This is going to push a lot of junior gold miners much higher. And the deals that they're offering with warrants and stuff like that, this is how you get into these deals through Curzio One. It's not easy. You had to work my way up there to the Rick Rules and Eric Sprotts and American Katusas and Jeff Phillips, because I used to go to the bullshit deals with so many people that go to these conferences. See, this is elite. We get calls first, just like everybody else. And these are the deals I put my own money into. So if you're interested in that membership, you get a chance to talk to me. You can email me, frankcurzioresearch.com. I would just say that it's first come, first served basis with this new deal that we're getting into. And it comes, again, from a fantastic source. So if you're interested, reach out to me, frankcurzioresearch.com, and I could put you on a list. I could talk to you and see if this is something that interests you. And if it does, very good. And I would say this, okay, mark my words on this, guys. Okay, for everyone that's a subscriber to our memberships, this would be the last time we offer a lifetime membership in this product or any product Curzio Research produces now and in the future. There's going to be no more lifetime memberships. If you're a lifetime member to any of our products, congratulations. I'm not going to take it away from you. It will never happen again. Okay, so even for this membership, it's going to be an annual membership, and you got to keep re-upping in order for you to access our research. Okay, we feel like we've been a premium brand for a long time, and had discount prices for a long time. But now with the research that we have, the quality, the performance, as you guys could see in a lot of our newsletters, Dan's doing a fantastic job as well. The lifetime memberships are gone. Okay, we're new business, new Curzio research. Again, everything we're focused on, we're doing great right now. That's going to be the publishing division. In this last chance, if you come into Curzio 1, it's going to be the last chance you can get a lifetime membership. After that, you will not get it anymore. Not only for Curzio 1, for any of our products. Okay, I think I said that a couple of weeks ago. I'm sticking by it. You will not see any more lifetime memberships through Curzio research. We'll let our competitors do it. We know why our competitors do it. It's nice to get a lot of money up front, but we have great research, consistent great research. We don't need to sell someone up front that they're locked in because we're going to provide them garbage for the next 3, 4, 5 years. That's not what we do here. So if you're interested, again, reach out, frankcurzioresearch.com. And other than that, that's it for me. Anyone else, guys, that you see that you think will make for a great interview, email me, because we're going to really focus that, especially on the Wednesdays podcasts. Get a lot of great people on, great people that are smarter than me that we could learn from, that have ideas, really, really cool stuff. And that's going to be the agenda going forward. Questions, comments, I'm here for you. Once again, frankcurzioresearch.com. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Love this episode of Wall Street Unplugged? I think you'll really love Wall Street Unplugged Premium. The Wall Street Unplugged Premium is my members-only podcast where I dive even deeper into this week's events. Well, I'll do even more than tell you what's moving these markets. I'll tell you specifically what moves you can make today. So this is going to be about trading. Put big money in your pocket right away due to the inconsistencies I see daily in the market. I'm talking about specific investment ideas I'm recommending and tracking each week that I believe will be impacted directly by everything I just talked about today. Plus, you're going to get the chance to go even further down the rabbit hole with me and my co-host, who's Daniel Creech, as we discuss which of these week's trends could turn into massive windfalls. Could the big trends that we see lurking on the horizon, also the news we're picking up from our network of insiders, which has gotten bigger and bigger thanks to you and so many people listening to this podcast in over 100 countries. And you get a chance to talk to me directly in my special Ask Me Anything Q&A session. All of that and a lot more, like premium interviews with world leaders in finance, technology, industry, and politics. This is all part of Wall Street Unplugged Premium. And becoming a member is super simple and super cheap. So head on over to WSUoffer.com to check it all out. Sign up today and you won't miss a thing. That's WSUoffer.com.
Wall Street Unplugged is produced by Curzio Research, one of the most respected financial media companies in the industry. The information presented on Wall Street Unplugged is the opinion of its hosts and guests. You should not base your investment decisions solely on this broadcast. Remember, it's your money and your responsibility.